Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taormina.
Welcome to OAA Now. Here I'm Sammy Taormina, blog around the OAA, the host of Last Two Brain Cells, and the host between Taormina and Orion Television. I'd like to welcome those watching on the local voice on SoundCloud and those watching Orion Television. Hot look at this week here. We're going to preview the Holiday Classics this week. Some really interesting games to keep an eye on. Some teams to really keep an eye on heading into 2025. So, we got a lot of basketball to talk about here heading into this Christmas episode. And then, of course, we have one more to wrap up the 2024 heading into 2025. So we're going to look at a lot of these teams as we head into the final week. Now, majority of these teams are going to be on holiday break. So they're going to be heading into 2025. We're going to look at the divisions. We're going to really look at each division outlook right now, where everybody stands, what big injuries have been the key. So let's start off with that this week on this week's edition of the pod. Let's start off with let's go with boys first. I really think, there are some complex storylines in this division. The blue particularly is a mess. It really is. You really look at this division, you kind of thought this division would be Bloomfield Hills' division to lose. And it was looking like that early. Really looking like that early. They were looking like the system was basically like everything was going in line. Everything was going like into fruition here with Bloomfield Hills. They had that win against Stony Creek, which is huge. On the road, that was a big win for them. But then they give up a buzzer beater against Royal Oak. To Mr. Hoffman, and they end up losing 44-42. That game was like a Royal Oak-esque game. Royal Oak is a team that really wants to go defense first, defensive-oriented team. And I know Coach Aaron Smith, they got a star in the making of TJ Hairston. I really think Royal Oak could be a sleeper in this thing. But the question I have with Royal Oak is going to be is Royal Oak a team are they a team, their history has not been very good, especially when the year turns. You look at a perfect example. 2022, Royal Oak had a good start, but then 2023, things went south. Then you look at last year, They had a good start early, things went south. So, they got to erase that stigma of good starts, terrible finishes. They got to erase that. And I know Coach Aaron Smith knows that. You look at the Ravens, this is a team that really, they rely a lot on their shooting. They have some size. But, the question is the stigma. That's going to be the question for Royal Oak, is the stigma. They picked up that win against Berkeley. They had a nice win against them. Berkeley's another team that I think I'm concerned about with them. But for Royal Oak going into Bloomfield Hills and winning that game says a lot about their character. Says a lot about them in the division race. That they could be a player. They could seriously be a player. So I think right now Royal Oak is a team that, not a lot of people expected them to make some noise. Not a lot of people expected them to contend. But here they are. They're right in the middle of that divisional race in the blue. Next team we're going to talk about here is Bloomfield Hills on the other side of things. I think this team is fine. I think Bloomfield Hills is going to be fine. Just coming off that bad loss at home. And they have that win against Stony Creek. That's huge for them. They do have that win against Troy earlier in the year, which is huge. But when I look at Bloomfield Hills, the play of their guards have been the story for them. They've gotten timely development too in the interior. I think Coach Brian Canfield's team, there's a lot to like about him. There's really is a lot to like about him. I mean, when you have the proven players that they have, and right now this is a team that's clicking. They're clicking on all cylinders. They got that year of experience. They had a rough time in the white last year. Now they're in the blue. Using that experience is going to help them, I think, in the long haul. I mean, it's going to really help them. So, but Bloomfield Hills right now, I think they got one classic that they're going to play. So that'll be really interesting to see how that one goes. But when I look at Bloomfield Hills, I mean, like, here's a team that really, that's a team that I think could really make some noise. I mean, they could make, one of the teams that are favored in this division is Bloomfield Hills could be really, they can be really, really good. I mean, they can be good, but like I said, the game against Royal Oak, they proved that, I don't know where they stand. I mean, and I really don't know how they look right now. And, division race, I think they're fine. But I think when it gets into the playoff, when it gets into the divisional conversation, they're in a division conversation right now. But, but they're going to have to keep playing. And I think that's going to be the key for them going forward is can they get that next step into the divisional. And then, when they go back in the non-league play, and I know they're in one of the classics this week, and it's a really interesting one for them. It's a really interesting one for them. I mean, Bloomfield Hills, they're in the round ball. Oh, no, they're in the North Farmington Holiday taking on a very good South Lyon East team. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. Another team to talk about here in this division is Pontiac. Pontiac's a team that really, they're coming, you don't know what to expect with them. I mean, they're coming off a really tough 66-3 loss to South Lyon East. They went and just devoured Rochester the other night, which was a shocker. Now, I found out Rochester's got some injuries, especially to one Jake Tandy, who's probably going to be out a month. That's a big loss for Coach Nick Ebola and the Falcons. But Pontiac, when I look at them, the Phoenix, obviously J.J. Claudio, you got the Henry brothers. They got a good team. I mean, they got a really good team despite the turbulence in coaching. Obviously they had a coaching change before the season started. We talked about it on the podcast. But it looks like Pontiac has been playing a lot more open ball, a lot more of the style that, a lot of people in Pontiac expect to be. So Pontiac is a team really in the conversation in this division right now. You look at them, they're right now one of those teams that are contending right now. The question they have that loss to Bloomfield Hills, which hurts them, but they still got to play Stony Creek. They got to play they got to play Stony Creek. They got to play, Royal Oak. Stony Creek be a really interesting game. They're another team I got to talk about. But I just think right now, when I look at Pontiac right now, they're in a nice spot, but they're a little bit behind considering that loss at home to Bloomfield Hills. So I think that'll be something to really, really watch for as we go into the later stages of the division play. But right now, Pontiac is a team that really they could be a player in this division. And then there's Stony Creek. Stony Creek, obviously, Quentin Ubali. He's really off to a nice start. Stony Creek's been off to a really, really good start, and I think it starts and ends for Stony Creek. Obviously, you look at the players that, for Stony, it starts and ends with, Quentin Ragai. That's really what the player I was trying to mention was Quentin Ragai. Joey Miller's played well for them. Gideon Beers has been really solid at point guard. So when I look at Stony Creek, I mean, they're a team that, you know what I mean, that it depends on the moment. It's kind of like for Coach and Jeff Owen, this is a much different team than they were last year, even though there's some people that question, that say this is still the same old Cougars, considering what happened in the game against Moopy Hills. They turned it around against a really good Ferndale University team, and won that one. It was a tight game. I mean, like, I really like the Eagles. I really like Ferndale University, the way they're playing. Despite their league record, I mean, they're off to a good start. 5-2 is not a bad record for Coach Josh Nix. But with Stony Creek, I think it comes down to is, can this team keep believing in themselves? They're coming up that they had a big win against Adams. Questionable loss to Rochester, I think, is the one that's hurting them. They also had that loss to Bloomfield Hills. They sit at 1-2 in league play right now. But that win against Ferndale University is huge for them at the moment right now. So Stony Creek's a team that they could be a contender in this division. Another team to watch is Ferndale U. I mentioned them earlier. A&T, I don't know. I just don't know if I see it with A&T right now. Spiking that win against Berkeley. I just think that with A&T, a lot of experience back for them, but a lot of question marks for A&T, for Coach Terrence Porter, for his team. There's a lot of question marks. And I think that they got to get that figured out soon. I really do. If they can get it figured out, I think they could be a really good team. I really do. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, we'll see what happens. And then you have, of course you have Berkeley. When I look at Berkeley, they work hard. They're just going through a transition phase right now. And unfortunately for them, the transition period has to happen during the season. That's what makes this really difficult for the Bears. I mean, last season, a lot of experience, a lot of, they ended up winning some key games. They got the district final last year. This year, it's kind of like, they got a lot of players coming back within the program. They've got some newcomers, of course, the Sermo brothers. But they haven't really gelled yet. They haven't really, gotten that togetherness yet. If they can get that, on the court, and I think it'll produce some wins for them. And I think really that's where I think the difference could be for Berkeley is, can they gel together on the court? That's really what it is, especially when you have players, especially seniors coming back who didn't play last year. Then you're trying to get them innovated into the system. Again, it's going to take some time for them. It really is. So, so we'll see what happens. I mean, we're going to see what happens there. And then there's Rochester. I mean, as I mentioned, Rochester, with Rochester, Andrew Jake Tandy, that is a big, big blow for this team. I mean, considering now it's going to put all the pressure in the world on Max Mull. It's going to put a lot of pressure on the guards there. I mean, Rochester, they're in a really tough spot right now. They really are. And, and I think for them, it's going to come down to is, can Rochester withstand, the injury bug? I mean, like the Tandy injury, they do have a classic game coming up against Redford Thurston, which is a really difficult matchup. Technically, these 2 weeks should help Tandy get back into the thick of it, but then, you got to get back in basketball shape. So, when you really look at Rochester, their situation, it's a really tough situation for them because of where they sit in the standings, of course, what happened against Pontiac. So basically, it's a big blow for Rochester, considering Tandy's their big interior rebounder. He can shoot threes. I mean, he does a little bit of everything for Rochester, and I think that's a big, big blow for them, and something they're going to have to find a way to overcome. If not, it could be a really long year for Rochester. So we'll see what happens. So in the blue right now, I would have to say right now, the division that I have right now, I would have to say Bloomfield Hills right now is still my best team, but I got to put Royal Oak in that conversation. After beating Bloomfield Hills, Pontiac's in that convo. then I think it would be Ferndale U, Stony Creek, Rochester, Ferndale U, A&T, and Berkeley right now. That's the order that I would say right now, based on that order, with the blue right now. So really, that's where I'm looking at heading into the Christmas break there. Let's go to the red. The red, I think it's starting to get an idea. I think there's two teams in that division that could really, create a lot of attention. Groves obviously is one of them. Of course, they had that really tough loss on their home floor to Detroit Martin Luther King in overtime, 75-70. And then Clarkston, Clark's another tough loss at home. They lost a tough one to Detroit University, Detroit Jesuit on their home floor. Both were in the D-Zone Classic. I'll be honest with you. When it comes to classics, I'm really not a big fan of it, because unless you have all three of your programs in there, not just the varsity, and I think to me, if you want to do a classic, honestly, you got to have there's a few things you got to do if you want to do a classic. One, I thought the Waterford Mock Christmas Holiday Classic did a really good job of this. They posted all the scores on their Twitter feed. They posted all their scores up, and and that's what I'm looking at. When I look at classics like the Round Ball, I'm not really, when I look at the Round Ball Classics, I don't know what is going. They don't usually post those scores up, and that's sometimes a really frustrating thing. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of classics, is because of the transparency side of things. Other than that, I think that you look at if you do a classic, I would involve all three teams, not just your varsity. And I think classics should promote the team, not the individual. That's how I always look at classics. But back to the red here, and I think really Groves and Clarkson are probably the only two. They're the two teams in this division that stand out. North Farmington's inexperience is starting to show a little bit. They've lost 2 straight, and that's a big concern for Coach John Negoshin. Avondale, tough loss to Ferndale. I think they're fine. I'm not too eagerly concerned with them, considering where they're at right now. West Bloomfield, I kind of want to give them a pass because they played a tough schedule. They sit 2-5. Ferndale's also at 2-5. They got a lot of classic games coming up. And then you have Adams, who sits right now in a interesting spot. I think they're 3-5 right now. So Adams is a team that I think could, Adams is a team that's been up and down. You don't know what you're going to get with them. Coach Isaiah Novak's team. So, so when you look at this division, I really think 2 teams that stand out are Groves and Clarkston. Ferndale and Avondale are almost in that second tier of the division right now. And then you look at North Farmington and Adams is probably on that third tier a little bit more, but they could pull some upsets. So, and also West Bloomfield's on there too. So that division, when I look at it right now, I still think Groves and Clarkston. Then it's Ferndale, Avondale, and then you have West Bloomfield, Adams, and West Bloomfield and Adams are right now in that in North Farmington are all in that third tier right now. So really, that's what I'm looking at, based with the red right now. And then the white. I think everybody's saying about Oxford, they're 8-0 start. Here's the thing with them. They knocked out Troy. That's a big win for them. But when you look at the strength of schedule component, compared to Lake Orion, who is right now the other team in there that's 3-0 in the division, and you say, wait a minute. You look at the strength of schedule component, I mean, Lake Orion's by far played a tougher schedule, considering, they played Adams, they played Clarkston, they played Macomb Dakota, they played Canton, Novi. That's not an easy slate, when you look at it. And then Oxford, you look at their schedule. I mean, Davison's down this year. New Baltimore and Bay, I don't think is as good as people think they are. They really haven't played to the level of the schedule that Lake Orion has. And, so that game January 3rd is going to be really interesting when Lake Orion goes to Oxford. And, you look at Lake Orion, with the injuries that they've had, with the, with everything that's gone on with them. I mean, you look at this Dragon team and, and say to yourself, okay, what if Lake Orion didn't give away 2 of those games? I mean, think about it. But I think Lake Orion's in a really fine place right now. Oxford right now, I would say Oxford right now, they're clicking right now. They got a lot of confidence right now. There's been a lot of rumors about a lot of shades of the 2018-2019 team. Remember that team really well when Oxford went to the regional that year. And there's been a lot of talk about that. I mean, Oxford, their district's interesting because they got to go through Grand Blanc. Grand Blanc's played a tougher schedule. But I think Oxford, there's been a lot of talk Oxford can knock off Grand Blanc. They got a chance. I mean, even though it's going to be at Grand Blanc, it'll be in Lapeer, but it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. So, and then you look at Troy. Troy's coming off 2 tough losses in league. Troy relies a lot on Mason Parker to carry them. I remember he had 35 against Lake Orion. I think he had around 25 against Oxford. But for Coach Gary Fralick, you know what I mean, they rely a lot on him. So we'll see what happens. Farmington is like the biggest unknown I've seen in years. I mean, Farmington, they'll look good at times a la against Harper Woods, and then there's some times they don't look very good. And a la Seahill. So you don't know what to expect with Coach Byron Johnson's team. You really don't know what to expect with them. And, and I think really that's where the issues lie, is where are the question marks there for them? I mean, that's a big question. Is they're like the perfect mystery team. It really is. Troy Athens, I thought, played much better against Lake Orion. I mean, Harper Woods and Lake Orion, the last 2 games, they played really good basketball. I think with them, it comes down to is like that 1-3-1 zone. They have a lot of length with that. And, I think they can create some problems with teams, especially those who want to run up and down against them. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, that 1-3-1 does pose a lot of problems for teams in the league. Seaholm coming off I thought Seaholm's been playing much better despite their loss to Oak Park. Oak Park, I'm not sold on Oak Park. I really am not. Now, a lot of that's obviously the fact they've started the year late. They missed Gio Hutchins. That's a big deal for them, for Coach Rand Shepard. So that's the big question I have with Oak Park is, you know what I mean, the fact they haven't played a lot of games early, that's a big warning sign for me when I look at Oak Park. So that's something to really watch for there. And then you look at Harper Woods. I mean, Harper Woods is just, I don't know what to say about this team. I really don't. Week 1, I mean, first game of the year, knocked off, I got to figure out what team they knocked. It was Detroit, East English. They knocked them off, and then they've gone south since. I mean, they got blown out 70-28 by Farmington, and that's not a good way to end your year. And then you coming off a tough loss to Athens, 44-38. That's not a good way to end the 2024 season. And then you got 2 more games coming in the Classics. So Harper Woods really difficult spot right now. So when I look at the division right now, I probably much would say is I would say Lake Orion right now over Oxford because of the strength of schedule component. Then I would say Troy, then Farmington. Then I would put Athens and Seaholm are right there neck and neck with one another. And then I would put Oak Park and Harper Woods as the other two right now. So that's my take right now in the white. So we'll see what happens there in that division. So let's look at the preview here for the classics. Now I did not mention like some other non-league game. I mean some other games around the individual games, and I will mention those in the blog later on when I post them. But some of the classics, obviously, we're going to start off with the one of my favorites, the North Farmington Holiday Extravaganza. I know it's a classic that takes place Friday, Sunday. Harper Woods is in this one. They take on River Rouge. River Rouge coming in unbeaten. Harper Woods is reeling. This has got more than capability to be in a blowout. Really does. So I could see a blowout here in favor of Rouge against Harper Woods. I just don't see how Harper Woods is going to match up in this game. I really don't. They've been limping. Adams and Warren DeSalle. I mean, this is an interesting matchup. I mean, Phoenix Glasgow. Warren DeSalle's got Phoenix Glasgow. They got a new coach in Donnell Rice. They've had some tough losses in Macomb, Dakota, and Groves. Adams, we know, has been a team that's been up and down lately. Big win against Lake Orion. Some losses to Saginaw Heritage, Chippewa Valley, and Stony Creek. And then, of course, they have wins against North Farmington and Heartland. Lost to West Bloomfield and Avondale. So, this is going to be interesting. I mean, interesting matchup. Two teams trying to find their way within the division. Just trying to find, their identity. I mean, it should be a really interesting matchup. I think it'll be a fun matchup to see how this one goes. But we'll see how it goes. And I think it's a good matchup to see how everything goes in that one. So, we'll see. Saturday, North Farmington takes on Chicago Thornton. Reggie Hamilton coaches at Chicago Thornton. North Farmington, obviously, coached for Todd Negoshin. Should be an interesting matchup. I mean, Chicago Thornton's not a bad team. North Farmington's inexperience, showed in their last two games. Really has. That's not a good feeling if you're Coach Todd Negoshin and the Raiders. Really not. Bloomfield Hills takes on South Lyon East. This could be a game. I think this would be a game. Canfield will be tested here in this one. I think Canfield's team will be tested. I mean, South Lyon East is a really good team. They just beat Pontiac. Now, Pontiac did lose to Bloomfield Hills earlier in the year. So, that should be really an interesting game to keep an eye on. That might be one of the best games in the Classic. It might be one of the best underrated games over there at North Farmington. Is Bloomfield Hills against South Lyon East. That should be a fun game. That should be a really good game. Avondale takes on Warren Fitzgerald. I know Coach Jared Thomas loves tough schedules. Gears him up for the postseason. But if you play too many of those games, that might kill you. And Avondale, they managed to survive. But Warren Fitzgerald, I mean, they've been dominating people. But their only loss was a 2-point loss to Grosse Pointe South. And Grosse Pointe South's not as good as people think they're. Really not. Terry Match could be the key. Congestion Greer Sykes be that guy in the interior. Avondale, we know, has got a lot of proven guards and wings. I mean, obviously, Jordan Clayton, Jordan Bush. You got Jacoby Loris there. So for Coach Jared Thomas, it just comes down to just playing style. This is the playing style. So we'll see how that one goes. I mean, that should be a really fun matchup over there at North Farmington on Saturday night. And then Sunday, you got two more games there in that Classic. You got Troy versus Belleville. I don't know how Troy's going to survive this game. I mean, originally they're supposed to be Walled Lake Northern, but I don't know how Troy's going to survive that game. I really don't. Difficult matchup for Troy, taking on Belleville. Belleville, we know, has got a lot of proven athletes. But Belleville had some games where they had some, North Farmington gave them a game. I mean, it was a 2-point win for Belleville in that one. It's going to be a tough matchup either way for Troy. It really is. But can Coach Gary Fralick's team find help besides Mason Parker? I mean, like, for Mason Parker. I mean, like, Andrew Lake there. You got Leah Pinoza there. You got younger Kuiper there. There's pieces. You got Jack Sabaka there. I mean, like, there's pieces there for Troy. It's just like Mason Parker needs a Robin. I mean, who's the one who's going to step up? I think it has to be Kuiper. It has to be Drew Kuiper. It has to be. In the interior. It has to be. So, we'll see. Farmington, South Lyon. You know what Farmington team is going to show up. South Lyon's a really good team. They really are. So, we'll see how that one goes. St. Clair County Community College Showcase up in Port Huron. Troy Athens, Waterford, Kettering. This is going to be an interesting game. I think it'll be a good game. I really do. Mitchell Versino going against former Oxford girls basketball coach Steve Emmert. Both teams have improved despite the records. Kettering put up 68 against Detroit Central. Athens has been playing much better the last two games. Knocked off Harper Woods on the road. Almost, they went toe-to-toe at Lake Orion until the end. It should be an interesting game. Very interesting game. Aquinas College Showcase, also on a Saturday. Clark takes on Wyoming Godwin Heights. Godwin Heights was 0-2. Now they're turned around. They're 2-2 right now. Clarkson's Clarkson. You know what I mean? Clarkson is Clarkson. John Call, Cole Charter, Quinn Rosenberg. You look at the way that they've been playing. I mean, it says a lot. Really says a lot. I wonder if I mentioned John Call in this. They got a deep bench. Tim Wasilk's done a really nice job coaching that team. Should be an interesting game. Mitten Recruit Classic at Pontiac. You have West Bloomfield takes on Centerline. Top match of West Bloomfield. Centerline's a very good team. Really good team. I mean, Centerline is, I think, my favorite in that Harper Woods district. I'm telling you, Centerline's got a heck of a team. West Bloomfield have their hands full. They're going to have their hands full. I know Coach Annette Jordan likes to play tough schedules, but we'll see how it goes. So we'll see how that one goes. Motor City Roundball at Ferndale. Boomby Hills takes on Grosse Pointe South Friday at 1:50 p.m. It should be an interesting game. I mean, Grosse Pointe South, they're coming off 2 losses. Won their arch rival, Grosse Pointe North, and then Pontiac North and Prep got them. But Prep's not as good as people think they are this year. Last year, they were very good. They got to start playing Joey Canassis. Very talented player. They're a good team, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they're as good as they were last year. But we'll see. We'll see. Boomby Hills, like I said, will be a good test for them. Really, really good test for them. Taking on Grosse Pointe South. It's the second game in a classic, obviously, so we'll see how that one goes. Then Ferndale takes on Grand Rapids Northview. Obviously Ferndale we talked about earlier. I mean, they rely a lot on Ethan Vineyard. Coach Juan Rickman. They played a tough schedule. Grand Rapids Northview, better team as well, better than their record indicates, despite losing 2 last 3 games. Be a really interesting matchup over there. Could be a really, really interesting game. See how that one goes. So we'll see how that one goes. Sunday, Berkeley takes on American International Academy. It's in Inkster. American International Academy is really struggling. I mean, they're going to be playing their 3rd game in 4 days heading in this game. Berkeley's been struggling to find consistency. It should be an interesting game. Should be a really, really interesting game. See how that one goes. Harper Woods takes on Fraser, 12:15. Top match for Harper Woods. We know how good Fraser is. Former Stony Creek coach Steve Norgrove's there. This should be a really, really interesting match. See how this one goes. It'll be really interesting, but it should be something to watch. Rochester takes on Redford Thurston. It's at 1:50 p.m. The loss to Jake Tandy is going to hurt in this game. Thurston's coming off. They were 0-3 to start the year, which included loss to Farmington. Tandy out could make a big-time problem here in this game. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, but Rochester's going to really be under the 8 ball heading in that matchup. So we'll see how that one goes. And then Ferndale takes on Romulus Summit Academy, 7:55. Top match for Ferndale. Southern Academy is a good team. Really good team. So, we'll see. We'll see. And then Monday, you got Groves and River Rouge at 3:20. This is going to be a good matchup here. I think it's going to be a really good game. Obviously, we talked about Groves with their 75-70 loss. Rouge unbeaten. So that should be a really interesting game. Avondale, Detroit, Martin Luther King. King coming out that win against Groves. Avondale, we know what they have. So we'll see what happens there. Adams, Detroit Cass Tech, 6:25. Detroit Cass Tech, we don't know what team they are after what happened to them against Detroit Renaissance. Very athletic. It'd be a good match for Coach Isaiah Novak's team, see where they're at. Really good matchup. And then last but not least, West Bloom with Detroit Renaissance. Obviously, center line. West Bloom is playing be playing at center line in Pontiac. Then playing Detroit Renaissance, tough matchup for Coach Arnett Jordan and his team. So we'll see how that one goes. Really difficult matchup for West Bloomfield. I think going against the Mata Stone in Detroit Renaissance. So it'll be really, really difficult to see how that one goes. So a lot on the boys' docket. Let's look at the girls' side. I mean, obviously, you look at storylines in this division. The gold, I think the gold might be, there's some signs of promise in the gold. I mean, really is. I mean, Ferndale University's really showed some promise. 5-2 start. I mean, actually, I'll take it back. Ferndale University is 3-3. Really, you look at with them. I mean, they're showing a lot of progress, which is a good sign. Experience matters. 3 wins after going winless last year says a lot. Really does. So, big props there to the coaching staff there, new coaching staff over there. Big props over there. Oak Park 1-3. Oak Park's 0-3 right now. Hard team to figure out. I don't know what's going on over there. I really don't. I mean, a couple of those games where they always scored single-digit points, that's not good. That is never good. When you score single-digit points in a game for 4 quarters, that's not very good. So they're in a little bit of a slump a little bit. Really are. Pontiac, they sit at 2-3 right now. Playing well against teams that have an academy name on it. Against everybody else, they're 0-3. So, if you coach Christopher Wright, I mean, you got to get that fixed. And then Farmington, 3-4 right now. They're being competitive despite the record. Very competitive. So when I look at the gold right now, I think Farmington right now is the best team. I think Ferndale U is probably number 2 right now. Then Pontiac, and then Oak Park. And who would ever thought that right now? Who would ever have thought that? Let's go now to the blue here. When I look at Harper Woods, and obviously they sit at 3-2, but they've had to forfeit 2 of their games. I really think when I look at Harper Woods, especially because I've been hearing a lot of things going around over there. A lot of rumblings over there. They had to forfeit 2 of their games. Not sure how it's going to go the rest of the year. I'm not really sure where they stand. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them going forward. But there's a lot of questions surrounding Harper Woods right now. A lot. So we'll see how that one goes there. North Farmington, when I look at the Raiders, really have played much better basketball the last few games. I mean, they're starting to get it, and Coach Michael Allen's starting to put some things together. I kind of saw some flashes in their loss to Plymouth Canton, but players you got to know. Haley Webley, Lucy Nemeth. I mean, those are some girls to really, really watch for. They looked good in their win the other night over at Waterford Kettering. I mean, they looked really good there. So North Farmington is a team that I think could be a team that really make some noise. I think they could really surprise some people. I really like where they're at right now. I really like where they're at despite the record. They're making a lot of progress. I really like where they're at. Troy Athens, kind of Tadish has got to be on everybody's radar. She's got to be on there. She's got to be on everybody's radar. I mean, I watched her game against Troy. I was really impressed with her poise, her leadership. Obviously, you got Alex Link there. You got Alex Link there. You got some others on that team for Coach J.C. Klump, but I've been really impressed with Kata Tadish. I mean, really, really impressed with the leadership that she's bringing. I think, right now with Athens, I think they're in a good spot right now. I think they are. A&T for me, A&T, I still got concerns about their defense. Offensively, they've been rolling people, but defensively, all I need to do is look at that West Boone game. That's all I need to look at with A&T. That is all I need to look at with that game. With A&T is that West Boone game. That's all I need to look at. Berkeley, the loss of Seaholm bothers me still with them. I just think that, they've been rolling people, and then they had that really tough setback to Seaholm. Albeit Seaholm's a really good team this year. I honestly think they could really give some teams problems. I mean, I've got a lot of praise for Seaholm. If you want to look at it with Seaholm, look at my top 23 this week. That's all you need to know about Seaholm. Just look at the top 23. But I think, when I look at this division, I think the best team in there is Adams. I mean, I love the way that team's been playing, despite not having Faith Zolas on that team. I mean, she's been out injured. But Adams is really starting to put things together. And with Coach Joe Malberg, you're gonna love your chances. And I really like the way Adams been playing. So when I look at this division right now with Adams in the blue here, I think Adams is the best team. Oh, and I forgot to mention Avondale's in this division. I apologize. Avondale's in this division. Despite their only loss to Plymouth Salem, it looks like that's not becoming a bad loss after all. I think Salem might be better than people think. But even though they lost Madison Morrison last year, which is kind of mind-boggling, but they're still a much improved team. So, Avondale right now, I think they're clicking off cylinders. Despite the loss to Salem. So when I look at the blue right now, I would say Avondale right now is my best team right now in the division, followed by Adams, Berkeley, A&T, Athens, North Farmington, and Harper Woods. So when I look at that division, I just think that I really think that Avondale right now is the team that stands out in there. Adams right now, I don't think it's that far behind. I think the game that turned Adams' season around was that game in the district last year against Utica Eisenhower. Berkeley, we know they've been there. Berkeley, I think they're my sleeper here. I think they can make some serious noise here. Athens, I like where they're at right now. North Farmington's getting better. And then, of course, Harper Woods has been pretty much struggling. Obviously with everything going on surrounding the Pioneers. So a lot to really look at within that division. In the white, when I look at the white, pretty much, it is clear to me, I think that this division might be done. I think it's pretty clear. Especially what I've been seeing this past week. There is no doubt in my mind that Seaholm is the best team in the white. No doubt. This team's got a ton of resolve. They don't quit. They believe in each other. The team chemistry is there. When I spoke to Coach Chris Manchester at Media Day, that team has got a mission. They have got a mission. They want to win districts. They want to go as far as they could. They got a chance. They got a chance to. But when I look at Seaholm, they got experience. They got team bonding. they've got they got a lot of the things that you have for a championship team. That team has. And that says a lot. Seaholm's a scary, scary team. And they are on a mission. They want to make sure that last year's loss in the district final of Bloomfield Hills never happens again. Now, albeit this year their district's a little bit tougher because they got to deal with Birmingham Marion in there. But they got a chance, I think, to win it all. I think they got a chance to win the district. You know, it's at Birmingham Marion, and Birmingham Marion's got Shane Law as their head coach. So, but to me, Seaholm's the best team in that division. No doubt. Then I would say Rochester. Rochester, they're starting to turn things around a little bit. I mean, Alice Max has really been the catalyst for that team. I mean, their guard situation's still a mess. But they're starting to turn things around a little bit there. Royal Oak, I just can't figure this team out. I can't figure Royal Oak out. They lost by 8 to Adams. I know Lucy Frittek's doing everything she can. But I just can't figure them out. I just really can't. So Royal Oak's another one. Bloomfield Hills coming off a nice win against the other night. They came off a nice win. Brianna Young had a big night for them. So they had a nice win. They gave up a ton of points lately until that game. Until that Saturday game at Waterford Kettering. Then they found something there. And then there's Troy. Troy, you know, I just don't know how to explain it. I just don't know. I mean, like, if I had time, I know Tom Grassi has his YouTube channel, his YouTube videos. I mean, I could do a YouTube reaction video to Scribes Colts. I mean, they're struggling. Bottom line. A lot of that's without Diamond Prince. But then I looked at a picture the other day, and it looks like she's off the crutches, which is a good sign. She could come back sooner than later. I mean, you kind of look at that picture when she got hurt against Athens, and it was really gruesome. It was really gruesome how she got hurt. But it looks like if Diamond Prince comes back sooner than later, this might help Troy's team. This could help the Colts. This could help Coach Laura Guzman's team. This could really help them. But it's clear as day that Troy really misses Diamond Prince. It's clear. I mean, you've seen it in the Oxford game. You've seen it. They struggle to score. They don't have that, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, you don't, I mean, like, Diamond Prince basically demands a lot of attention. And then you have Reagan Zyder shooting from three from the outside. You have Kelsey Block, who's a defensive stopper. Sabia Castanis is a solid player. Macy Zyder, you know what she can bring. But Troy, to me, you know, when I look at Troy, they need Diamond Prince back in the worst way terrible. And if she's not back, they're in trouble. That's really what the bottom line is. You know? And I know, you know, and I saw the pictures on Twitter, you know, the team bonding. And it looks like Diamond Prince might be back sooner than later. And if she's back, and if she comes back, Troy might have a chance at this thing. But when I look at the division right now, I still think it's Seaholm's division to lose. Then it's Rochester, Royal Oak. I would put Troy barely in there. And then Bloomfield Hills. And then Groves. I forgot to mention Groves. I mean, Groves, they're making a ton of progress despite their record. Really like where they're at right now. Harlem Simpson's a very good player. J.C. Roy's a solid player. Despite the record, I think they're better than people think. So Groves right now. So when I look at this division right now, I would say Seaholm, Rochester, Royal Oak, Groves, Troy, then Bloomfield Hills right now. That would be my way of thinking right now heading into the Christmas holiday. And then the Red, you know, Ferndale's a hard team to figure out. I mean, really lost a lot of tight games, a lot of close games. I get it. People are going to say, well, this is going to get them better. It's going to get them better. They're getting ready for districts and all that. Here's the thing. Sometimes, you got to look at it. You know what I mean? Yes, these losses are going to harden a team. But program strength is always going to be my biggest concern for Coach Keith Paris. That's always going to be the number one concern for me when I look at Ferndale. Program strength. Because you look at the teams in the red, you look at all the other teams in the red that have program strength. You look at Clarkston. Clarkston, they got program strength. Yes, they got a really good team this year, but they got program strength to back it up. You look at Stony Creek. Stony Creek, I'm a little concerned about that freshman class. But, they've managed to turn things around. They're building program strength a little bit. I want to see them bring back a freshman team. I think it'd be good for them. You look at Lake Orion. Lake Orion, young team this year. They got program strength down there in the lower levels. Oxford, you look at what they've been through, especially with their coaching situation, but they got program strength over there. So, all these teams have, beside what Ferndale needs, I think, honestly, is program strength. Because you can't rely on just one team to just carry you going forward. Two teams is fine, but for Ferndale, it's just building, getting more kids to come out to be part of the program. And I think it's the first step for them winning these games, but I don't know if playing the type of schedule they're doing right now is going to help them confidence-wise. Because it is going to get to you. It's going to get to you, you know what I mean? If the games, losing these type of games, they're going to mount, and that's the worrisome thing if you're Coach Keith Paris, and I think that's really the thing you got to worry about with them, and that's really what it is right now with them. Clarkston, the tough schedule's harding them. Lake Orion, when Charlotte Pepelowski plays for them, Coach Bobber's team is much different because you look at, and I think Lake Orion's getting better. I really do. I think they're slowly getting better. It's all part of a process for them. I think they're going to be fine. Oxford, they're starting to develop their depth. Bench is really starting to work. I know they had 2 starters out because of mono. And then you look at, and then Stony Creek, obviously, they turned things around since their loss to Walled Lake Northern. So when I look at this division right now, I would say right now, I put Clarkston right now, number 1 right now in the division, followed by, I can't trust Ferndale right now. I just can't trust them right now. I would say Clarkston, West Bloomfield, they're also coming off a really tough loss, tough stretch, but I think they're going to be fine. So when I look at the division right now, I still would put West Bloomfield ahead of Clarkston, even though I have Clarkston number 2 in the top 23. I say West Bloomfield, Clarkston, Ferndale, Stony Creek, Lake Orion, Oxford right now. That's really what I have right now. Now, this could all change as we head into the Christmas holiday. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens heading in. But that's what I'm looking at right now, as of right now. And then let's look at the holiday classics. Obviously, there are a couple big individual games to keep an eye on. Obviously, Clarkson, Detroit, Birmingham, Detroit Country Day is the one that we're going to keep an eye on as well. That's going to be a really interesting matchup. Other than that, not a lot going on around the OAA when it comes to the girls' side of things, when it comes to classics. But Clarkston and Birmingham, Detroit Country Day is really a game you got to keep an eye on for sure there. Let's look at the round ball at Ferndale. Of course, the one-day event's Thursday. Mostly it's West Bloomfield and Ferndale. West Bloomfield takes on Grosse Pointe South. Both these teams are struggling. We'll see how that one goes. It should be a fun matchup. See where this one goes. And then Ferndale takes on Ypsilanti Arbor Prep, another top match for Coach Keith Paris and his Eagles. So, when I look at West Bloomfield, obviously they're struggling. Really surprised that they got blown out by Tecumseh. Tecumseh's a good team. Don't get me wrong. Tecumseh's a really good team. The Indians, they're good. got a lot of length, they're defensive oriented, well coached. I mean, but for West Bloomfield to start 1-4, that's stunning. I mean, that's shocking to see where they're at right now. I still think they're fine. I think, Darren McAllister is going to find a way to turn this thing around quick. I think you're going to be fine. I think you're going to be okay. Because once everything starts settling down, I think for them, it's just, for West Bloomfield, it's just, they've got to do more bonding experience. They got to do just to get out everybody on the same page. And right now, they're struggling right now. Ferndale takes on Ypsilanti Arbor Prep. Top matchup, as I mentioned. Arbor Prep's a solid team. I get what Coach Keith Paris wants to do, but I talked about this earlier. Sometimes when these losses start to mount, you know what I mean? The morale starts going down, and that's a big concern for Coach Paris, and I think that's something to really, really watch for with them. Is these tough losses start to mount. Yes, it's going to get them toughened for postseason, but you got to keep an eye on it. You really got to keep an eye on the situation over there. So, so that's something to really watch for there. Saturday, Ferndale takes on Detroit Country Day. We don't know what Detroit Country Day is going to be after playing Clarkston. Obviously, you know how tough that one is between them. Ferndale and Clarkston will be a really interesting game. So I'll be curious. And then playing Ferndale, obviously, the depth could be an issue here in this one for Ferndale, taking on Detroit Country Day. Team that's really deep, obviously. So we'll see how that one goes in that one. So that should be really interesting there. Sunday, West Bloomfield takes on Rockford. Rematch of the state semifinal. West Bloomfield's won 3 of the last 4. But West Bloomfield's a completely different team now. Without, obviously losing the Davis sisters, losing Destiny Washington, losing Kendall Hendricks. I mean, you lose a lot of talent on that team, and, it's going to be really interesting to see how that one goes. Rockford, obviously, has got the majority of the team back. Of course, led about Anna Wetwich, who could be a Miss Basketball candidate. So this is going to be a difficult match for Coach Aaron McAllister and the Lakers. Going in the Romulus, taking on Rockford. A team that I think's got a really good chance to win it all this year. That they can make some serious noise in the state is Rockford. So we'll see how that one goes. It'll be really interesting to see how West Bloomfield can play them, despite losing a lot of talent from last year. So it'll be really interesting to see. And then when we get into the new year, January the 4th, West Bloomfield takes on Detroit Mumford. Detroit Mumford's coming off a 46-44 win against Ferndale. It's over at Detroit Renaissance. It's going to be a really interesting matchup for West Bloomfield taking on a good Detroit Mumford team. Really good program there. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. But we'll see. We'll see how things go, and I think it'll be interesting to see how Coach Jerry McAllister plays it. So we'll see what happens there. So we'll see what happens. All right, now before we signing off here for the Christmas holiday, obviously we're keeping an eye on the football coaching situations over at so we're keeping an eye on a lot of that. We're also going to keep an eye on the holiday classics. We're also going to keep an eye on individual matchups. Now, I didn't mention the individual matchups on the holiday classics blog. Obviously, you look at with them. Teams can book their individual games during the holiday break, and and I think that's what a lot of these teams have been doing. So, so we'll see what happens going forward. Now, most of the league here is also on a holiday break, obviously for Christmas and the New Year's. So we'll see what happens going forward. Everybody, want to sign off here. Make sure you follow the blog at Sagamay4650 at blogspot.com for the latest information around the OAA. Want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas as we head into the holiday season here. Obviously, we're getting ready to leave 2024 and head into 2025. So we'll see what happens. Everybody, we're signing off here. Take care. God bless, and I will see you all next week, everybody. Take care, and I will see you all next week. God bless all.